The first question says, a project manager is managing a software development project. In order to ensure that the project's agile team is cross-functional, the project manager hires an experienced designer. Okay, a few days later, the designer informs the project manager that he is unable to do his work properly because the subscription plan of the design application he is using does not include all the functionalities he needs. Therefore, the designer asks for an upgrade subscription plan. What should the project manager do next? All right, we have here issue with the subscription plan. Let's check cross-managing design from the project unable to do his work because of the subscription of the design application he's using. Okay, the project manager could ask the designer to raise the issue during the next retrospective meeting. Okay, here the retrospective meeting is to review what all the things that went good and all what went wrong and try to improve the processes. If we have a problem, why waiting until the retrospective meeting to take place? We need to be proactive and resolve the issue right now. And during the retrospective, we capture the lessons learned. Maybe during the retrospective, we said that we have encountered this issue and we fixed it by upgrading the subscription plan. And moving forward, any designer will start with this new subscription plan. This is capturing lessons learned. But waiting until the retrospective meeting to raise the issue again, that's not agile and that's not proactive for the project manager and should be wrong, of course. Okay, B, tell the designer to be self-reliant by dealing with the situation and finding turnarounds. If the team member can resolve this by themselves, maybe they will not go to the project manager to resolve it. The team member or the designer come to the project manager for a reason. And the reason is that the project manager in agile context should be servant leader. And here, letting them to be self-reliant, deal with the situation themselves, it doesn't reflect on this character. So I don't think this could be right answer either. C, explain to the designer that his current subscription plan is sufficient for fulfilling his assigned tasks. Okay, if you are a project manager and a development team come to you and complain about some blockers and constraints, and these constraints are technical constraints. So here, the project manager is arguing with the designer that this is sufficient. I don't think this is the right course of action, actually, because here the designer is experienced. It's not like someone who is not having any experience and you are going to guide them. And this is a very technical issue. So maybe relying on the development team and having a self-organizing team means that as a project manager, you need to respect their technical opinions and respect their judgments. So C is not the best option in my opinion. So let's check D. Reach out to the appropriate stakeholder to upgrade the designer's subscription plan. This entails servant leadership character, and I would go for D better because the project manager should be a servant leader when it comes to a project management. So the right answer should be D here. Let's double check. Yes, as a servant leader, the project manager should reach out to the appropriate stakeholder in order to upgrade the designer's subscription plan. In an agile work environment, the project manager should listen to the impediments faced by their team members and act to solve them. Okay, let's move on to the next question. To guide the development team on what they intend to achieve, the product owner of an HR solution shares the following table depicting the key deliverables of each quarter of the 9-month project. What agile artifact does this table represent? This shows quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, and there is like a high level deliverables or key deliverables for each quarter. If we have quarters or months, like a timeline like that, it's most likely a product roadmap. So the right answer here should be C, the product roadmap. It's not a product backlog because the product backlog is composed of many user stories and it does not look like that. The product wireframe is a graphical illustrations. The product vision statement is a small paragraph or one sentence depicting the vision of the product. So this is for sure should be the product roadmap. Let's double check. Yes, the right answer is C. The product roadmap is built by the product owner to demonstrate the anticipated sequence of deliverables over the project duration. Okay, let's move on to the next question. A Scrum Master is facilitating a retrospective meeting when a team member suggested changing the sprint time box from 3 weeks to 2 weeks. What should the Scrum Master do? Here we are in a retrospective meeting, and we know that during the retrospective, we are checking the processes. What went wrong, what went good, how we could improve the Scrum processes. Okay, and here a team member suggested to change the duration of a sprint. That's a legitimate request during a retrospective meeting. So how the Scrum Master should deal with such a request? A, investigate the cause behind the team's members' suggestion to tailor the process. Okay, we know that the Scrum Master is the facilitator of such a meeting. And when the Scrum Master hears the different opinions, different perspectives of the team members, they could question these team members, and follow-up questions is always good. So A could be correct. Let's see the different options. Accept the implementation of any suggestion provided by self-organizing team members. Here, accepting without questioning, I don't think this is a good threat for any person. This is not good. Actually, if you accept any kind of suggestion, this will not reveal the discussion behind any of the suggestion that could lead to improvements. So we always need to challenge new ideas and to understand why we need to change the process. What's the purpose? What the root cause? For accepting any suggestion is not a good course of action, from my opinion. Let's move on to C and D. Decline the team's member suggestion. Here, decline is not a good word. I don't recommend options with decline, but let's see the remaining reason. Since it can reduce the team's velocity. Okay, by having 2 weeks instead of 3 weeks, that will reduce the velocity for sure. Instead of completing, let's say, 60 user stories, you are going to complete 40, for instance. That will impact the velocity. But should we dismiss this suggestion because of the velocity? I don't think so, because at the end of the day, instead of having, let's say, 2 sprints of 3 weeks, you are going to have 3 sprints of 2 weeks. So you will have more sprints and less velocity. So I don't think C is making any sense because velocity is not our concern here. Let's see D here. Decline the team's member suggestions since the sprint time box is set at the beginning of the project and should never be changed. No, actually, it could be changed. Even in my personal experience, I have witnessed changes in the sprint time box duration. And the reason at that time is that we are having a more stable product and we change it from 2 weeks to 3 weeks because the product is more stable and we don't need a lot of meetings and stuff like that. So it's possible to change the duration, but this should not be frequent. It's not like you change it this time and next time you change it back and the other 2 sprints you change it another time. It's not recommended to change it frequently. You should only change it when there is a legitimate reason for that. And usually the reason is related to change frequency. If the change frequency of the requirements is so high, then having shorter sprints is good. Also risks and dynamic requirements and things like that leads to a shorter period of time for the sprint. However, for very stable products, longer period of sprints is good. So D is not right because it could be changed, but it should not be frequent. The right answer then it should be A, investigate the reason behind the team's member suggestion. If the reason is valid, then we need to inform the product owner because we cannot take such a decision without letting the product owner know because we know that the product owner is going to attend the sprint planning meeting, going to attend the sprint review meeting. So they need to be available for such meetings. So they need to validate such a decision. Okay. So the project manager or the Scrum Master should investigate this case. And if the team member is right, then we need to consult the product owner and take a decision with the product owner as well. Okay, Let's double check the right answer. Yes, the right answer is A. The Scrum Master should investigate the cause behind the team's member suggestion to tailor the process. Let's move on to next question. A project manager is facilitating a meeting attended by his project team as well as key stakeholders to prioritize all product backlog items according to their business value and risk level. Drag and drop each item's category and its right placement in the product backlog. Here we cannot drag and drop, but I will match the right item with the right position in the product backlog. Here, the product backlog, we have at the bottom the low priority and at the top the high priority. And here, items of high value and high risk, items of high value and low risk, items of low value and high risk, items of low value and low risk. I think what comes first is items with high value. Depending on the risk, we should prioritize the value. So A and B should be first. Which comes first, the high risk or low risk? Think about it. If you have a project and you are a high value item, but this item is having a high risk. What if you put this second? You start this, you spend, for instance, 3 weeks or 3 sprints, and then you tackle this and you find out that the risk is so high and the project is not feasible. All the business value is not going to be attained and the project will be stopped because of this. So what's better, to start with this and know that the project is not feasible, or spend 3 weeks with the low risk items, then you start working on this and find out that the project is not feasible? I think it's better to start with this because knowing that the project is not feasible from week 1 is way better than knowing that it is not feasible from week 4. I would say that we need to have this first and we need to have this second. High value, high risk first. We need to ensure that we are giving value and we are having a clear idea about what to expect from the beginning. And then we prioritize high value and low risk. Okay, now it comes with low value items, C and D. What should be next? Here, if we have low value, which means that it will not have an impact on the project. If it's not achieved, that's fine. It's having low value. So in this case, I would say that low value and low risk should be prioritized over low value and high risk. Well, even from my opinion, this one should be dropped from the project. The low value and high risk, it's on the bottom of the product backlog. We know that we always monitor risk in the agile product and we always refine backlog. And maybe in the future, the risk changes and it will be low risk and it could be moved to this level. But anyway, if you have these 4 items in front of you, A should be first, B should be second, then D should be third, and C should be fourth. Okay, let's move on to next question. A product owner is assigned to a new agile project at a software development company. The company's main measure of its project success is the number of features delivered into production. This is their KPI, number of features delivered into production. Okay, this is the success criteria. The product owner's team has been delivering a record number of features since the project started. However, despite the high number of features being rolled out, customers have started to voice their frustration about encountering numerous issues and bugs into the software. What should the product owner do? Here, there is a definition of this KPI. This is their measure of success. It seems like they overlooked the need for quality. And as a consequence, we had a frustration and a very bad quality, like issues, bugs. That happens a lot. There is sometimes urge of the customer to do more shipped features, and they forget that the more you put the pressure on the development team, the more you get a bad quality. So it's better to have a balance between delivered features and between a good quality. And let's check what the product owner can do. A, encourage the team to keep the same pace of delivering more features and issues will be fixed later on. So here, as if there is no problem at all, and we are going to continue with the same pace. I think this is wrong. the product owner is not proactive here, and this is not a good course of action, of course. Add an item to the sprint backlog to deal with the technical debt. The lack of quality, which leads to the numerous issues and bugs, is considered as a technical debt. That's correct. But adding an item to the sprint backlog, just one item, maybe will not fix the problem on the long run. It could fix some of the issues, some of the bugs, but not a permanent solution. Let's see if there is other measures. C, include customer satisfaction and quality KPIs as product success metrics. If I have to choose between B and C, C is way much better because we are addressing the root cause of the issue. Okay, I'm going to go with C at this time. Let's see D. Discuss customer feedback during the demonstration of the finished product. Okay, here we already got the feedback of the customer. Why we need to wait until the demonstration? That's for sure a wrong option. We need to deal with issues when they arise. We should not wait until something happens, until demonstration or until retrospective or until the iteration review or whatever. We need to deal with issues when they arise as soon as possible. Be proactive. Okay, and you can see here that we have problem, and if we have problem, we address its root cause and we address it proactively. Don't waste time. And this option C is addressing this, try to satisfy the customer through another KPI, not just number of features delivered, but also the quality and the customer satisfaction KPIs. Let's double check the correct answer. Yes, the correct answer is C, and the scenario depicts the Hawthorne effect, which states that the very act of measuring something influences behavior. Here, because we are measuring the throughput of deliveries, we are just focusing on that. We are not focusing on quality. Therefore, only measuring a project's team output of deliverables can encourage the project team to focus on creating a large volume of deliverables rather than focusing on deliverables that would provide higher customer satisfaction.